Hey guys, welcome back to another Techcast Friday on the 429 podcast. I'm 4.
I'm too.
And I'm not.
And let's, without further ado, we only have a little bit of time for these Techcasts, so let's jump right into some articles here. All right. So, article number 1. 3D
Okay.
printing is possible inside the body now for doing things like patching stomach ulcers, for doing things like fixing hernias, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, they're now looking at this. They're looking at this thing called in vivo bioprinting, right? So essentially, what that'll be is while you're still like closed up, without ever opening up your body, doctors and engineers are looking at using a 3D printer to do in vivo bioprinting inside of you to fix things without ever having to actually open up your body, right? So when they open up your body, there's a whole host of risks associated with that, right? There's infection. They could mess up. If a doctor slips and cuts a vein, you could have blood loss, right? So
You want me to just swallow a 3D printer or shove a 3D printer up my ass? And hope
yeah,
everything works
kind of,
out?
exactly.
You already shoved
Exactly.
things up your ass, so might as well just add a 3D printer to the list.
Exactly. So, I mean, this is actually looking like some really cool technology. It's nothing that's too advanced right now. This same technology is used to do, non-in vivo bioprinting, to do things like printing bone grafts and other things that still need to be implanted. But, later down the line, technologies like this could be used to maybe even do things like replicate entire organs or perform, internal fixes on like major problems without actually having to cut you open. So, I mean, I think this is pretty cool. What do you guys think?
Walks into Best Buy, looks at the 3D printer. Is this the one I could shove up my ass?
No, sir, please don't do a demo in front of everyone. I think it's great. I think it's cracking. I think it's cool. Me and Forth talked about the benefits. I think I don't know. We did it on our podcast, but we talked about the great benefits that 3D printing has currently, and that it can bring later on. And we talked about maybe we could do an episode on this if you guys want to hear it. We talked about like right now. Let's just think about it right now. The benefits of 3D printing, like for home and crafts and IoT, its benefits are so insanely like helpful and convenient. And like now, and I seen glimpses of it in the medical, like we talk about now, and like industrial and architecture. It's insanely promising. It's really cool. And we even saw, like, even technically medical for a while has been a big player in 3D printing. The first thing I think of is those prosthetic arms.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of like students and college projects have been trying to like make prosthetic arms for the cheap, and the bigger player in that is 3D printing the materials.
Yep.
I honestly, this is cool. This is really cool.
I know it's weird. I don't know. I find it a little weird.
You find it real, but this is the future of cyberpunk. We're just heading to the cyberpunk world right now.
All right, hit us with the next one.
Yep. So there's this new nonprofit. It is called the Nonprofit Coalition for App Fairness. Essentially, this is made in combination with a bunch of app developers and game developers, most notably Epic Games and Spotify,
of course,
as well as a company I haven't heard of before, but was listed as one of their bigger sponsors called Match Group.
Is this the collision that Epic wanted to start way back a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, I believe this is the one. So, I mean, this is essentially now a nonprofit, and they are specifically targeting fairness on app stores and, most notably Apple's App Store. And I mean, we've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, right? You all know Apple removed Fortnite off the App Store, and that 30% fee that they charge all of their
and if you haven't heard about that, welcome to the 4-Time Podcast.
Yep. So, I mean, this is a really big step. There's never been something like this before. I see this almost as like a union for app developers, right? This is kind of what it sounds like to me. So, what do you guys think?
It's crazy. I didn't think anyone would actually take them up on that offer. To be honest with you, when Epic first proposed it,
Spotify, out of all places, took them up on the offer. Spotify
makes
a shit ton of money on the app.
Well, you gotta remember that Spotify has a really bad beef with Apple for a long time, and they may have like slowly got over it, but like I don't think Spotify really. I think like a bad ex, they haven't really got over it. Like you gotta remember, like maybe a year ago now or 2 years ago, Spotify and Apple were pretty much the same boat where Epic and Apple were in the exact same boat, with just small context changes. But Spotify was in the same like position where Epic was, where they wanted to sell their membership directly and not have to pay the huge price cut. And Apple was like, hell no, Jose. So I am not surprised Spotify did it. I am kind of surprised mostly because there is going to be a public backlash, especially from Apple, because you kind of just put a target on yourself when you kind of
Yeah.
like say you're joining this.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
not gonna be
honestly,
nice.
honestly, I just don't see this going anywhere. Right? I think it's a nice theory, but like until
you have
the
to
people
live.
who need to actually make this coalition would have been Apple, Google, and the guys who own the app stores, not the guys who are consumers of the app stores, right?
Well,
Yeah, well,
So
that's the
do
opposite though,
you
right?
have
That's like having the U.S. or that's like having, whatever company you are own the union for that company, right? You can't expect them
Yeah.
to keep themselves in check. It just doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
these are basically you got to think about it, right? Think of it like an old timey kind of version, right? These are guys are essentially the workers of the industrial factory, right? The factory owner being Apple, and these guys are their, I guess you say, like factory employees working.
Mhm.
So it kind of does make sense. It doesn't make sense for Apple to do it, and it really doesn't make sense for Google to do it because there's a huge conflict of interest there. Because they're huge rivals. Is it just Apple? Is it just Epic and Spotify, or like any other big name players?
Those were the only the only ones I saw listed in the article were Epic Games, Spotify, and Match Group. Those were the big
Match
ones.
Group. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I guess we just gotta see where this goes. I mean, I'm really surprised Spotify joined in on day one. I thought maybe they'll tease it a little bit, but then join
Yeah, I
in
agree.
later. But we'll see.
All right. Anyway, next in the news, Microsoft is set to acquire ZeniMax Media. And if you don't know, ZeniMax Media is
I
actually
didn't know about this.
ZeniMax is the owner of Bethesda Softworks, aka the
I didn't know
makers
about
of
that.
Elder Scrolls and Fallout. So
What's Fallout?
interesting.
a lot of people are thinking that this is a big move by Microsoft to kind of further expand their entire Game Pass experience, right? They have 15 million subscribers on Game Pass now. So by acquiring another game
Already?
studio, that can let
Yeah,
them have
yeah.
more exclusives,
That was recent.
right? And it might even give them the opportunity to just list whatever they want on their Game Pass platform with no worries. So this is a $7.5 billion cash deal as well. So I think that's probably one of the,
I wanna
this week at least.
I want to put this in perspective for people who are listening right now. 7.5 billion, right?
Mm-hmm. Cash
that's
as well. Cash.
Well, I want people to realize that's basically 3 times more than Microsoft paid for Mojang, which has the highest played game of all time, Minecraft. So they basically paid 3 times more for what is right now essentially the highest paid game of all time.
Yep.
That's pretty insane.
That's pretty nuts.
Also, weird thing, I found this out recently. This is actually not the biggest video game company acquirement, actually. I thought this was, but it wasn't. It was actually Tencent who has the highest one. I think it was for like 9 billion, and they bought a mobile company.
That's
I forgot the
crazy.
name, but they bought the guys who made Clash of Clans.
Yep.
They bought them for like $9 billion.
Interesting.
Mobile game is a big business. A lot of people tend to forget that, but mobile gaming is a huge business.
I think in terms of this, I think this is an amazing deal for Microsoft,
yeah.
right? The way I see Microsoft becoming like the Disney of like these content services, right? So
Yep.
Microsoft wants to own all the content, right? And then just go and launch them on their service, which I think, we've seen it work for Disney. It's working amazingly for Disney, right? So I think Microsoft can also pull it off in the video game industry too.
Also,
Yes,
another
I think it's a little tougher. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's a little tougher just because Disney was already the behemoth, right? Disney
Yep.
already owned everything, or they had minor stakes in each of the film industries. Microsoft is still video games is still that escape where you're not only competing with China and all the video games they're producing, but you're also competing with Sony and Nintendo.
Well, and
right,
the only
who
thing to
have-
keep in
who have
mind
been
here
strongholds.
is that even though that you're right, they're not like a big mogul in terms of like the biggest game creator. They do have one big kind of advantage. They
The money?
own money
The
is
money.
true, but they own the most commonly used gaming platforms pretty much in the world, right? They own Windows.
Exactly.
They own Xbox. I mean, combine those two platforms, they have full control over both of those platforms.
They own all the
So-
windows in my house.
Exactly.
Insane.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
Even the new one you just put in, yeah, that
Exactly.
one.
Oh, nice. I was gonna say, speaking of Disney, right? There's also a requirement. I keep forgetting. cost more than what Disney paid for Star Wars, which is
Hold up.
another crazy thing if you think about it. Because Star Wars is already a money-making machine.
One of the biggest movie franchises in the history of movie
Which spans
franchises, and
to movies and merchandise and video games.
although you gotta think about it, Elder Scrolls and Fallout, like just those two game systems or gaming, kind of.
Well,
Like-
Elder Scrolls and Fallout the same thing, but I know what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There are some. Honestly, it's just a huge move. It's a big.
What do you mean by the same thing? Like Elder Scrolls is Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout is like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas.
Well, when you say Elder Scrolls and Skyrim, and you're saying like two separate things, it's the actual titles Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim.
No, I said Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Fallout. They're two different series.
Well, you said Skyrim. Did he say Skyrim?
No, he said Fallout.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
We
then.
could rewind.
Yeah,
This.
anyway, let's move on
But
past this one.
you're wrong.
While we're on the topic of acquisitions, I think we might have briefly touched on this at some point, but it is now official. The Trump administration and different U.S. officials have given the okay for U.S. acquisition of, or at least partial acquisition of TikTok by Oracle and Walmart. So in this deal, it's structured in a way that Oracle is going to become a 12.5% owner of TikTok Global. Walmart is going to become a 7.5% owner of TikTok Global. And even though ByteDance still owns 80% of TikTok Global as a whole, U.S. investors happen to own 40% of ByteDance. So equivalently, U.S. investors will have a 53% stake in TikTok Global, meaning that U.S. will be a majority owner of TikTok as an entire corporation. And then this is all also hinging on TikTok adding 25,000 new jobs to the U.S. and $5 billion promised for an education fund. So now we're just waiting for China to give their approval for the deal, and things will be kind of done, completed.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. I was like, did China approve it, right? So now, like, we got the U.S. arm out of the way, and now it's up to Beijing, who has to be like, hey, yeah, like we'll go with this deal. And there's gonna be some pushback. I think there's gonna be some pushback, but I'm just honestly, this has been one of the most confusing acquisitions I've ever read in my life, and I've read about a ton of acquisitions, right?
Yep.
It's like I don't know who owns what. Like you're telling me like they have these percentages that they own global, but then I just read an article the other day that TikTok was like, yeah, they own 0% of TikTok globally, and then Oracle comes out and says, no, we own the U.S. based operations of TikTok, and it's like, what the hell's going on here, right?
Yeah,
like
yep.
I feel like no one's on the same page here, and it's really gonna. I really don't think this is gonna go well from a business standpoint, but we'll see.
Not any thoughts?
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
All right, okay, let's move on. So another interesting topic. An ex-content moderator of YouTube is actually now in the process of filing a class action lawsuit for claims of job-related and job-caused PTSD and depression symptoms. So
Another one?
obviously you guys understand that, as a content moderator, you're looking at probably the worst of the worst things, right? Someone's got to take down all of the illegal, immoral, and bad things that show up on these
baby shark
platforms.
do
So,
baby shark.
Someone's got to be responsible for looking through all that and validating, what's going to qualify as not allowed in the platform and what isn't. So they have huge like armies of these freaking content moderators, and there's always been a lot of concern over the mental health of these moderators because you got to realize they're looking at terrible things, right? They're watching beheadings and murders and child abuse and all different types of disturbing content. So
I think the number Tuesday found too.
This one employee or former employee in particular says that she's having horrific nightmares all the time. She can't be in crowded places due to fear of mass shootings, terrorist attacks, and just overall her ability to get panic attacks so quickly and often. She even says that she's lost a bunch of friendships over all of her new symptoms and whatnot. So it's going to be a
real
class
quick
action
though,
lawsuit.
like
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like real quick though, but didn't you like sign up for this? I hate to get all like, oh, I feel bad for her. Like her symptoms are very real. I feel very bad for her and everything.
I like it too.
Yep.
With the whole PTSD, but like, didn't you sign up knowing the risks of the job? That's what I want to know. I don't
absolutely. I think that's probably going to be Google's and YouTube's biggest kind of like fallback points. But the actual law that they're going after is a California state law, where workplaces are required to provide a safe workspace, and even if it's not, even if it's as safe as can be for the job that they're performing, they're required to have different things in place to help safeguard their mental health, right? So if they don't have therapists and counselors and maybe
that's a different type of lawsuit
stuff,
there. Yeah,
correct.
exactly.
So this is what they're going after, and I don't know all the facts on this lawsuit in particular just yet, but I would imagine that they're probably going to try and say that whatever YouTube was doing just wasn't substantial enough for what the job that they were expecting people to do was.
See, now that's fair. See, now that could be fair because we know Google has literally. I don't know if any one of our listeners have been to any Google campus worldwide. They literally have everything in the world on that place,
yeah, they do.
right?
It's
like
impressive.
You don't need to do anything in your life if you go work at a Google campus or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially one of their main ones like Mountain View. But it'll be interesting to see here with YouTube because I don't know if YouTube employees are afforded the same sort of, I would say, quote unquote, like luxuries as like the main campus employees, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an interesting one. It's gonna really open some insights into YouTube, how the work environment space is there, especially in regards to California and how it's gonna affect mental health there. But this is gonna be an interesting one, right? I may actually follow this one closely to see how it plays out.
And this is actually a really big deal. Also, I'm sure you guys remember from we went to the Facebook Developer Conference 2 years ago, or maybe it was last year. I can't quite remember, but one of their big talking points was how they're using artificial intelligence to automatically scan images and videos for content that violates their terms of service or might be illegal. And they're doing that,
as we've seen,
specifically
Facebook...
to make it so that way people don't have to look at a majority of these, blatantly, obviously terrible things to watch, right? So that's a really good use of AI that they're implementing and can really help safeguard mental health.
I think that's fair, right? But like we need to see the accuracy of that, right? So Facebook has still been notorious for a bunch of stuff they've censored that shouldn't have been censored, and stuff that and stuff like that, right? So we know it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying a human is perfect either, but I guess the way it works is that you have to specifically flag this content, right?
Correct.
For it to go to this person's desk. Yep. And so I guess that's where it gets a little.
I would imagine that it'd probably have to be some type of algorithm where it would give it a rating, and if it's like over 90% sure that it's bad, it just automatically takes it down, and if it's above 70% sure, maybe it sends it to somebody, right? So you'd have to look at it like that or whatever. Anyway, let's move on to our next, just a really small article that I kind of thought was neat. Apparently, there's a set of anonymous hackers in Belarus that have stolen personal data on a ton of their police officers. And they have purposefully leaked 1,000 police officer personal data records. And this wasn't just a standard hack. This was pure retaliation in the form of a protest. So it was hacktivism, is what I would call it. So the Belarus president has kind of cracked down on street demonstrations against him. And he's having more of their police force kind of like rile in all of these like demonstrations that are going on, and kind of like taking away their ability to kind of have an open forum to display their kind of anger and frustration. And this was a hacktivist attack against him specifically. And if I was reading the article correctly, it seems like they're going to continue doing this and keep releasing records until they stop.
This is going to be an interesting one because now it really turns the tables on the cops over there. I don't know if you guys have been watching the videos of the protests out in Belarus, right? My heart goes out to everyone in Belarus right now, but it's brutal out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just, we'll see what happens, but this is definitely going to be a turning point for, the police, right? So it's like, unless they're afforded government protections, right?
Yep.
It's going to be a very, very tough time for the police out there.
Yep.
And the protesters themselves are already going through hell out there, so.
Yep, no, I agree.
It's going to be weird.
All right, anyway, another really big piece of news, and this kind of ties in directly to one of my big articles for the week, so let's go ahead and talk about this. Small article, and then I'll jump into the big article, and we can react to both of them at the same time. So, California is ready to pull the plug on gas-powered vehicles. So, California's governor has just created a ban of sale on all gasoline-powered passenger cars and trucks that is set to start being enforced in 2035. Now, this doesn't mean that if you own a gas-powered car, you're going to have to sell it, or you can't use it, or you won't be able to get gas or whatever. You'll still be able to do all of those things, but new gas-powered vehicles will be unable to be purchased in California starting in January 2035.
Bro, by 2040, you could throw one EMP and you knock out the whole state of California everywhere.
Yeah,
like,
literally. But anyway,
I mean,
this
you could already do that right now with the cars. I mean, cars use electricity too.
this leads into the other article I want to at least put out there. This is a big article before we start reacting on this topic because they're highly related. So Elon Musk, right around the same time of this happening, has revealed a plan to slash electric battery costs by a huge margin, roughly 56%. And if
Wow.
you don't know, electric car batteries are the most expensive component of those cars. So he's promised pretty much that within 3 years, there will be a $25,000 Tesla on the market available for consumer purchase. And not only will it be much cheaper, but these new cylindrical cells they're using that are going to replace their existing batteries, they're going to be able to provide 5 times more energy, 6 times more power, and they'll have a 16% greater driving range. And like I said, that's all within 3 years.
With the new Tesla? Was this with the new Tesla battery announcement and the
exactly.
report that they did?
Yep, exactly. And if you guys
I'm a
didn't see,
big
just a
fan of
little
that.
funny remark, but the whole event happened at their headquarters, I believe, in California. And all of these people that showed up, they were socially distanced inside of their Teslas in the parking lot. So it's just
That's
a
pretty
ton
funny.
of Teslas, like hundreds of them. It was pretty funny.
I'm pretty
Nice.
stoked
Nice.
about this. I think this is, awesome for the environment and everything. But I guess just one question I had surrounding all this electrical car stuff before California actually goes and implements like this law in place, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we my biggest issue with these electric cars is that we haven't seen these cars, I guess, break yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen mechanical cars break. We know we could reuse the parts and go with that and everything, right?
Yep.
I'm 90% sure you can't really. I'm pretty sure you can't really do that with like Teslas, right? You can't really reuse a Tesla part from one Tesla to another unless you go to a certified manufacturer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my other issue is like the batteries that die, right? And we have this problem with cars too. I have the same problem with cars. Like car batteries that die, and like these batteries are obviously much bigger and heavier,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
How are we like disposing of them, right? Like, are those not causing issues as well?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like for the environment?
Couldn't tell you. I'm not certain. I would say
So maybe they recycle them. Could be
I don't
possible.
know.
Could be.
That's all I want. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Like, how is it really playing out? And can you recycle that?
yes, you can. Yep.
So I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
Apple does it. So not to
Okay.
that scale, but it's essentially the same components. You can recycle them. There's a lot of components of it that can be recycled.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I think for me, one of the biggest issues I have with this, I do think electric cars are really cool if they're better for the environment, and why not use them, right? Everyone should use them then.
Of course. Yeah.
If they only benefit everybody, let's go for it, right? Obviously, it's a good thing to do. But my biggest problem that I'm thinking of with them is, especially in California's electric grid, they're already doing rolling blackouts because they can't support, the air conditioner usage. How all of a sudden are you going to be able to put tens of millions of new electric cars on that power grid and expect for them to not, be overwhelmed, right?
That's why I think the governor of California has extended till 15 years down the line, and I think it's precisely for this reason. If they're very smart about implementing this plan,
Mm-hmm.
they'll go to those power companies and do a full-blown rework of that power grid. It's gonna be expensive shit, bro. Like you're talking about 100-year-old, 200-year-old power lines, right?
Yep.
Like, especially in the more rural areas of California, it's gonna be very tough. So it's gonna be a big lift and shift. But if California is able to accomplish this, I think they really set a standard for the rest of the United States and the world when it's gonna come to doing this, right?
The only other big problem I see too is think about, like, for example, if Teslas are the only car on the road, think about all of those people that now are out of jobs in terms of your standard mechanics, right? Regular mechanics don't work on Teslas.
You have to be Tesla certified.
Every mechanic shop that you roll past, if Teslas are the kind of standard for how cars are worked with in the future, every mechanic shop will be out of business, right? Like, that's a big strain on the economy, right? That's a lot of jobs lost. So, and I mean, maybe they'll go become Tesla certified. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see the effect of this on the market.
Honestly, I think this solves California's traffic problem, though. I think you have every Tesla on the road, it's just all self-driving cars, and they're all gonna figure things out themselves.
Okay, yeah, no doubt.
A machine fix everything. Like they always do.
You know, it could be interesting too, right? Because I know we had this debate a while back when it came to, you know, I like to drive and like I don't want to lose my ability to drive for self-driving cars, but you know, maybe they could do something along the lines of like self-driving hours where during rush hour, you know, your car has to be in self-driving mode, otherwise you can't be on the road, just in order to keep down for high traffic times. And then, you know, during low traffic hours, you know, after maybe you set aside like 4 hours a day, it's self-driving only, just to maintain rush hour traffic at a minimum.
Honestly, I'd rather have the ability to self-drive all the time, but like that's just me.
Well, you could always have the ability to do it. I'm talking about enforcing it, right? Requiring it for certain hours, because if everyone isn't self-driving, you know, it's not optimal. You need everyone to be partaking, otherwise one guy could screw up, you know, the entire thing for everybody. He's going too slow in some lane,
Phil.
right? So
it's all right. You gotta love Phil, who messes up traffic, you know. Traffic Phil.
Anyway, we do have a couple more big articles I want to get through.
Hit us with it.
I saved all of these for the last here. There's a handful of them, so let me kind of just go through a handful of them, and we'll go, and then one more is the final one. So these are all Amazon-related news. This is a big week for Amazon, believe it or not.
You just love them every Techcast you do. You just love them.
They always have so much news. They're coming out with new stuff.
What is Amazon even
doing?
doing?
All the time. Okay.
I didn't hear anything about that.
All right. Anyway, here goes. So first big news stays with Ring, right? So Ring has made 2 product announcements. First one, a rather small one, but it kind of fits the current times pretty well. So Ring has just released a $30 mailbox sensor. So that's going to happen. Orders are going to be open on October 8th. And anytime someone tries to open or tamper with your mailbox, you'll get an alert. And it's also meant to pair really well with your Ring cameras. That way when alerts happen, you can get specific video footage from your Ring doorbell or other Ring cameras that might be able to see that.
Does it shock them?
It does.
They steal
it
it?
Should.
Ring is the best. I think Ring, side note, if you guys don't know the story of Ring, I think is one of the best Shark Tank acquisitions that have ever happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it's just fantastic that we see this technology keep evolving. I'm very happy for those guys.
We do have one more product from Ring now. You guys are never going to believe this, but it's a Ring security drone that flies around your house. Okay?
No way.
I swear to you. It's called the Ring Always Home Cam. And you can't control it manually, but you can have sensors placed around your house. And when those sensors are triggered, the camera will fly there by itself, and then it can come back and redock after it's done. So this will give you the ability to see anywhere in your house if there's a sensor or an alert or whatever.
My one question, is it waterproof?
I don't know if it's waterproof, but I'll tell you this, it's only $250.
Man, dude, like
I'll buy that.
As opposed to this, there was an alternative by this group called Sunflower Labs, and this was going to be estimated to cost $10,000. So Ring just came out of nowhere and released a competitor for like I don't even know what that is. It's so much cheaper. It's freaking like 5% of the price of what the other one would have been. So
imagine you have like 5 of these watching, like just hovering around, surrounding like someone.
Tamper with your house. If they just see 5 droids hovering in your house constantly, I wouldn't even touch that house. That house is a no-touch zone.
And they haven't set a full release date for this yet, but it's sometime in 2021 is what they're anticipating.
And I'm calling it right now. I already see some dude out in rural America, right, because it tends to be those guys who's gonna hijack a shotgun to this thing, and it's gonna fly around with a shotgun attached to it. He's gonna have a fire button if he doesn't like that.
No,
dude.
so if you look at it, it's very small. It's not big enough to do something like that. It's probably can barely sustain itself, to be honest, in flight.
Don't doubt their abilities. I'm telling you.
Anyway, very last article. We're just about out of time here, but I want to discuss this last piece. Like I said, another Amazon article here. This is a pretty big one here. Amazon has now just talked about Amazon Luna. So this is a new cloud gaming service that's going to be provided by Amazon, made to be based on Fire TV. It's going to be playable from Windows and Mac. And get this, they're actually going to have very, very intuitive web apps for your iPhone and iPad, specifically to target Apple, so that way they can't charge them that 30% fee and can't block their app like they did Microsoft. So they aren't even attempting to make an app for these. It's purely going to be a web app. So that's really interesting. Luna Plus is going to be $5.99 a month. The controller that they have, a custom controller, the early pricing is $50, so maybe it'll be 60 after non-early pricing.
It's principle. They got me.
It'll be able to do 1080p, 60 FPS streaming. They've done a teaser for 4K, although that's not going to be fully released at launch. Everything is hosted within AWS, which is, probably the largest cloud infrastructure in the world right now. So that's going to be probably really fast.
Wait, so how does this work? Do I subscribe and I get all the games,
Yep,
or that
exactly.
is it like
Yep.
Oh, so it's like Microsoft, not
Yep.
like games, not Spotify,
Yeah, correct.
Stadia.
Yep, that's
okay.
That's
it's
how,
already
that's
better.
How it appears to
It's
me.
already better. It's already better.
And then
what about
terms
like
of
Apple Arcade? So this is gonna be a huge thing against Apple Arcade, right?
Of course, yeah. Well, like I said,
Arcade's not even the same feel. You're talking about like casual games. This is like
they're
actual
specifically
AAA games.
targeting them, right? Because they're not even making an app, so Apple doesn't even have a say. Apple can't even go like, nope, you're not coming on our app store. Sorry, Amazon. They pretty much just said, hey, Amazon, Amazon just said, hey, Apple, guess what? We don't care. We're going to make a web app and go around all of your restrictions.
Microsoft's listening. He's like, write that down. Write that down.
Write that down.
So-
Epic is in the back like, why didn't we think of that?
And then just as a note, I thought this was really, really impressive. They only require 10 megabit per second download speeds for 1080p streaming, and 35 megabit per second download speeds for 4K. So
Nah, I gotta see that. Believe that.
That seems
no
pretty
way.
impressive.
Latency is a huge concern when it comes to gaming, and you have to have a solid connection
Of
for
course.
that to even be.
Also, 9, they have Sonic on Luna.
They have Sonic? Oh, I'm
They
already
have-
in. I'm
they
signing
have
in.
Son-
In terms of
they have
games,
some.
they have a couple of cool games that are out right now, or that will be out when it comes out. There's no exact release date's been released for this service just yet, but Ubisoft, whatever you want to call them or however you want to say it, is their biggest named early publisher. And even though there's no game timeline, they did promise that Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be available.
I just saw that, yeah.
So that's a pretty impressive title right there.
You can also sign up with your Ubisoft account if you
Yep.
have one, so this is actually very interesting.
Prime discount?
I'm sorry?
Is there a Prime discount? If I'm a Prime member, do I get a discount?
That would
maybe.
be really interesting. Maybe they do something
If-
like include this
if
in your
they
Prime
got-
membership. That could be.
I don't know about including. That sounds asking for too much. I'm not that greedy. But if they can like give me a discount, like let's say even like $4 a month, if you already have Prime or $3, dude, I'm in.
But I'll be real with you guys. I'll say there's one caveat because I just looked it up now, right?
I'll buy that controller too.
This is a $5.99 introductory price.
Yep.
This price is subject to go up after Luna Early Access, and they're gonna notify you.
It's like Netflix. It's exactly like Netflix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a 30-day heads up they're gonna give you before they do it, but it's definitely an introductory price. But I think it's honestly, if the game library is good enough, because I think this was the biggest problem with Stadia, right?
Yep.
Like the game
Well, no.
library sucked.
Well, the game library was one of the issues, but the biggest issue was the way they did the model was that you had to subscribe, so the entry fee, and then you have to buy the games again. No one wanted to do that.
Oh.
That's like a double paywall to do that.
Yeah.
Not to mention that every game you buy is only available for that Stadia system.
Mm-hmm.
You could even import your like existing library to it, so it made no sense to do it.
Yeah.
You're like, it's like super expensive, but this is what I'm saying already. This is a way better off than Stadia, because if Forrest saying is true, if it's exactly like Microsoft's cloud, I just pay a subscription fee and I get a whole Netflix catalog of games. I'm in.
And
I'll be
man.
real. I think Xbox Gamer Pass still has the edge.
I think they do.
Oh, I
Because
agree.
they just have so
But-
much games.
Yeah.
There's just so much connections. They've been in the industry for way longer. They know the network. They know what gamers are
And the
like tapped into.
cross-platform is huge.
And the cross-platform is huge. So they definitely have an uphill battle against Microsoft. And I think the only way they can really, I think, snub the tail on Microsoft is with that price point
Yep, I agree.
and availability.
And
But
Amazon, I think,
Microsoft
can
can
definitely
snub
pull that
them.
off. Right? They have
think
they have the
Microsoft can
biggest
snub them.
cloud services in the world, Amazon, right? AWS
Not to
accounts
mention
for like
Am-
60% or
not-
something.
Not to mention, we keep talking about how Microsoft has money. Who has more money than Microsoft? Amazon has more money
That's
than
true.
Microsoft. So
Actually,
they are
Apple
definitely.
does. Actually, Apple has the most.
We're talking about the players. We're talking about the players right now. Apple's not. Even, Apple's not here.
Anyway,
Apple's
we
an
can continue
arcade.
this. We can continue this another time. We are out of time for this week's TechCast Friday. This was episode 9. Quickly putting episodes behind us. Excited
My
to keep
number.
these going. But
It's my number.
this has been a really good. I think we had a lot of news here today. That was a big week with a lot of cool things going on. So
You did surprise me with that Luna one. I was not. I
That's
didn't.
a good one to end
That was a
off
good
on.
one. That was a good one. You're right. You really did give me that
Thank you,
one.
thank you. I take a bow. I bow. My
You
research
deserve that. You
skills
deserve that.
have
Congrats.
been flawless this week. But
I
But
will
guys,
respect
make
you.
sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you guys check us out on the 429podcast.com and follow us on all of our social medias. Right, we're gonna announce some challenges and some
at the
exciting,
429 podcast.
at the 429 podcast. We're gonna
Follow
have
us right
some
now.
challenges and some exciting events coming up soon. So please follow us, like, subscribe, do everything.
Yep.
Comment
And
right now. Comment on YouTube. Follow us right now. Don't even forget about it. You can always unfollow us anytime you want.
All right, guys. Be good. See you on Sunday.
Take care, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.